you don't realize how important other people are around you, where they're subliminally giving you those messages saying, you're actually capable of more. It just takes a lot of different approach. Just keep going.
Welcome to the Grant Wise Show. This podcast helps ordinary real estate agents build extraordinary companies. Let's grow in 3, 2. What's up, everybody? Grant Wise here. Welcome back to the Grant Wise Show. I have a very, very special guest for you today. Tristan Ahumada is one of the leading experts in the real estate space. He has built a number of extraordinary ventures, and I'm excited for him to unpack that here today. He's currently the chief marketing officer for Success Magazine. He's got his own real estate team, founder, creator of the organization with EXP. He is the founder, creator of Lab Code Agents, one of the largest Facebook groups in the world for real estate agents that are looking to learn how to grow and develop in this business, and just one of the nicest human beings that you will ever get a chance to interact with. So Tristan, man, thanks for taking some time to stop by the podcast today.
Thanks for the kind words, buddy. Nice to see you. Nice to engage.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, let's dive into it. You have built a number of extraordinary ventures and a number of extraordinary companies. And I know maybe it wasn't always like that. So tell us your story. How did you get to where you are today? Give us the backstory.
That's a good mother and a good wife, I think. Great guidance all the time, even though I screwed up a whole bunch.
That's a good, simple answer. Right?
I think that's part of the journey, though. I think it comes down to what you decide to do with the failures that you have in your life. And I don't know, dude, other than having an environment that allowed me to be able to handle failures differently than other people has been really instrumental to my growth, because I've had a lot of them, and personal failures that from choices that I made, right, that were not so good really young, to other situations where I had no control over that were detrimental emotionally to me. And just I've noticed every time it's like, how do you respond to challenges? How do you respond to shit happening around you and to you? That really dictates the life that you then decide to have based on that. So I think it's a continual mind shift, but I haven't always been like that, man. I think it really has to do with the people that are around you and what you continually dive into as far as what you're reading, what you're exposed to, what you listen to, who you listen to, what you watch. All of that gives you a new perspective on how to live a better life. And I think we all want that, right? How to live a better life. So I think it's a combination of all those things.
Now, you said something that I've kind of latched to. You said you had an environment that kind of allowed you to fail or allowed you to make those mistakes. Do you mind elaborating? Like, what does that mean?
Yeah. So I was never great in school, right? And it wasn't until I got to college that I'm like, oh, I think I'm actually good at this shit. So, but in high school and elementary, I think I failed a lot, and I was terrible. And my parents, although they wanted me to do better, they always allowed me to fail without saying I was stupid or you're an idiot or you're dumb or why can't you get this thing, right? It's more like, no, we've got to try something different. Maybe you should do this and maybe you should do that. So I learned from an early age that although I wasn't that great at things, it didn't necessarily mean that I was not capable of growing into it. So without really truly understanding what my parents are doing later on, I realized it's like, oh, this is like what Carol Dweck has been saying in the book Mindset for years. It's like growth mindset, not fixed mindset. And in some environments that we're around people that say, well, look, I'm always stupid. It's just the way I am. It's like, oh, I'm not ever going to be like that. Or why them? It's the total opposite of that. And you don't realize that. That's why I said environment. It's like, you don't realize how important other people are around you, where they're subliminally giving you those messages saying, you're actually capable of more. It just takes a lot of different work, a different approach. Just keep going. And that's what I mean by environment.
I love that. I love what you're talking about. I mean, I grew up a similar way where I was not good at school. I think you made that comment a few minutes ago. And not only was I not good on it, I did not like it either. I did not think that it made very much sense at all to sit in a classroom. I never thought it made sense to have a job. Like there's a whole lot of stuff that I just never understood why most people did, but school was one of them. And I excelled as an athlete, thankfully, but I skirted by like minimally from an educational standpoint. And one of the things I will always give props and gratitude to my mom for is no matter what, she would always just say, "You're the greatest. You're going to be the greatest. You are the best. You're going to be a legend someday." Like she just never stopped. I can't remember, and I think a lot of us maybe intentionally kind of drown some of that stuff. I can't remember everything about my childhood, but one of the things that I do absolutely always remember is that I had a mom that constantly spoke life into me, no matter what was going on around me, and I will forever be in her debt for that because it sets you up. You know, you go out and you start to pursue entrepreneurship, and you start failing every day. It's like, well, she said I was going to be great. I guess I got to keep going. I got to keep going. I'm going to get this. Um, it's such a beautiful way, I think, to think about it. How have you seen that mindset shape and develop you as an entrepreneur from a business standpoint?
I just think that my mom and my parents put such great examples in front of me for the failure part because I saw how they responded to things, both in how I didn't want to be, right? Because my dad, I grew up in an alcoholic family, right? So my dad drank his worries away, and I was growing up in that, and it wasn't easy with my mom. So I saw both sides of that, even though my dad is one of the kindest people you'll ever meet. Um, it challenged us in a lot of different ways. So growing up with a difficult childhood in that I had to go to bars to pick up my dad because he didn't come home for days. And then seeing how my mom struggled through that and decided to take things um, on for herself and say, I'm going to create a business because I don't want this life for my son, right? And watching her growing up, because she was 16 when she had me. So watching her growing up through this whole process and seeing that she can take it on and having the difficulties of this over here, I learned to adapt through all of the tough things that were happening and say, oh God, it is just part of life. We just have to figure out which hard we want, right? Do we want this or do we want this? And I quickly saw that when you put a lot of effort into something, I quickly realized that hard work pays off, regardless of what other people think, right? The hustle culture. But I think hard work works, man. That's bottom line.
Yeah. Well, you said something a second ago. You said hard work works, but then you said regardless of what people think, about were you meaning that people don't believe in the hustle culture? What do you mean?
Think there's a negative connotation to it. There's a negative feeling attached to the hustle culture because you don't see the other side of this. What we see typically on the hustle culture is you lose the family, you lose a sense of control because maybe you're doing drugs, you're doing alcohol, you're going into all of this stuff over here because you're just playing too hard. You don't have a balance or there's no harmony, right? What you don't see on the other side of this is wait a second, when you adjust it to have your priorities right and saying, like, my priority is my family and myself, but I have no in between. There's also work. That's it. I have no friends that I hang out with. I don't go to parties. I don't do other shit. I have two modes: family and work. That's it. That's all I have. And for some people, that's like, well, that's awkward. Where's in between? I go, I don't need in between. I'm going to go all in on both. And that's poisonous to some people. It's like, well, that's not healthy. I'm like, well, I love the life that I have right now. Right.
some people ask me the same things. They're like, "What do you do when you're not working?" I'm like, "I spend time with my family." They're like, "Wait, so you just work and spend time with your family?" It's like, "Yeah. What do you do?" It's like, "Oh, I got to do this and I got to do that." It's like, "I got to go to the lake and I got to go." It's like, "Oh man, well I'm great. I love because I think people associate the word work as like a dirty word to some people.
That's what the hustle part comes.
Yeah, some people don't understand is the for me the word work means impact. Because you guys like you and I, we get to just every single day, we get to go make a positive impact on the people that we get to connect with and the people that we get to serve, coach. And so I view the words differently. Work is digging a ditch. Like I used to haul hay, I used to, work a ranch, I used to dig ditches, I used to like build like that's work, like that's real work. But I mean today it's impact. And when that's your job, you just view it differently. At least I do.
No, that's true, man, and a lot of people are doing things that they don't find meaning or purpose. Having a job is an amazing thing, but sometimes it doesn't align with what you want to do, right? Or what who you want to help. So I think that also becomes a challenge, right?
Now, I have another question for you.
Shoot.
And I think that a lot of what we've talked about so far with mindset and belief systems, I mean, I think this is fantastic. But I've always been particularly fascinated because you don't have like one big thing going on. You have like five big things going on. And there's always been this curiosity, like, how do you get so much done and maintain the level of maybe time and intimacy with your family and getting all of the appropriate time spent into the business relationships that requires? I mean, because you have four or five different really big projects or companies rather. And so how do you get so much done?
So, dude, that's a good question. I think I do my best to work on things or create things that use the strengths that I have, so I don't have to completely learn a whole new avenue of doing something new. And so, when I look at what I do, one of the things that I do best is I love creating content. I love breaking down processes and systems. So I try to align the things that I do with those things, and and I also do a pretty great job of hiring the right person to delegate the next step too. So doing a combination of both, where I don't live in. You know what? The challenge now that I'm looking at this, the challenge with a lot of people that only stick to doing one thing or two, and they're like, "How do you get to do so much shit? It's amazing." It's because they feel like they need to control the process and everything they're creating. They don't take a step back and say, "Hey, you know what? They're actually going to do this at about 80% of what I would do it, and that's okay because I need them to learn and do it their own way because that's what's going to make the rest of the 20%." But a lot of us are like, "No, it needs to be done like this. You made a mistake. Oh man, I think I hired the wrong person." And it's the mindset. It's like they're going to grow into it. Just step back and let them do their thing. You hired them because they're good at it. Now just stop micromanaging them and let them grow into the position. And I think that empowers the people I hire, which allows them to do more. They start loving it. They know I'm not watching over their back and saying you didn't do that. And that allows the companies that I create to grow so fast and be profitable. That's probably the key, man. It's me stepping back and doing less.
Well, sometimes that's the secret, but you're right. So many people have this need to control everything. And I get it because I think a lot of people romanticize it because it's like, I've poured all of my time, attention, energy, money into building this thing. I want to make sure that nothing, knocks it off the rails. But there's sometimes a struggle to, effectively step back. And some people step back too far. Have you ever seen that? Where maybe you step too far out of a project?
Yeah, definitely. But I think the times you step too far are when you actually get out of the work. Like I'm fully involved in every company that I do because I know it aligns with what I'm great at. So when it comes to real estate, I do lead generation and conversion. I still make calls. I still understand the process because I'm prospecting in the late afternoon. I understand creating Facebook lead ads because I'm still creating them, right? I understand how to process Google PPC leads because we're still creating them. I stick to the thing that I love doing. And then when I go back, it's like, wait, what about a brilliant tribe? Well, I'm coaching along the lines that things that I'm great at, social media and online lead conversion. But I hire people that aren't that great at that are amazing at other things. And if I look at the other piece, it's like, let's take a look at when I was deeper with Success Magazine. I was interviewing people. Why? Because I'd interviewed them for years in lab coat agents. So I get to interview Barbara Corcoran and everybody else. And then when it comes to social, I was helping on the social side and on the marketing side. So it sticks to what I'm great at, and it just makes me better and better at those things because I get more experience. And it also keeps me involved. What I see though is like, oh, I'm let's pick real estate. I'm seventh level. I don't need to do anything else anymore. I'm just going to run the business, put the vision in place. But then you have that disconnect. And by the time you're trying to get back, it's like you don't understand what's happening anymore. So I think there's too much of a disconnect. If you want to keep going and growing, there's also, dude, look at a really good example is Gary Vee, right? He's right in the middle of it. He talked about going in the clouds and being in the dirt. It's the exact same thing. It's like you need to get your hands dirty. You can never stop getting your hands dirty if you want to completely have a connection to the companies that you're growing. If you want to step back and let it grow and have somebody else lead it and do all the things, that's great. That can happen too. But the moment I stop is the moment I have a disconnect.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think that some people listen to this, and I would love your take on this. They definitely struggle because the life of a realtor, right? You finally get to a place where now you're working like crazy, and you've got you got leads, you got sales, you got clients. You're working 60 to 8 hours a week, and a lot of people struggle to make that shift from I'm the person doing all of the work to okay, now I'm going to put people in place to do all the work. And I think where a lot of people really get hung up is they're trying to make that step out of production because they think that because it's the my name real estate team that I'm the one that's got to shake all the hands and I'm the one that's got to be at all the listing appointments and I'm the one that's got to sign all the agreements because these people they want me, they don't want my team, they want me. How do you help people build a bridge to understanding those kind of nuances that it doesn't always have to be you doing the work?
Well, I think there's a few different types of people. I think you have those that want to do that continually, right? Because they feel like if they don't, they won't be actually working and they'll lose some of that purpose that they have. So I don't think that there's a wrong answer to this, but if you want to keep on being involved at that level, then just know that you're one of two things is going to happen. You're either not going to grow like you envisioned, or you are going to grow like you envisioned, but you're going to need people to handle the rest of the things that you're not handling. And I think that becomes a challenge, Grant, because what happens is at everyone has a peak, right? Sometimes you don't even know when you're at the peak until it's too late. But when you're at a peak, uh, what happens is you're like, wow, I'm doing great. This is going to continue. This is going to continue. And what you don't do is you don't hire while you're going on the way up. Because now when you're going on the way down, you wish that you would have had somebody now to do everything else that you no longer can do because you're so spread out, because you had so much business. And part of it was you can't sustain all that business because you have no help. So what I've noticed is that to make these peaks, to make the lower part of the peak on the graph not go down as much, on the upswing, you need to hire. And you say, what am I great at? And you decide, I'm either going to hire at what I'm great at to make it even better, or what do I suck at? And you're going to hire for that. For me, it was what do I suck at or what I hate? It was, and this is real estate specific, TC, transaction coordinating. I hate paperwork, right? I hate paperwork. Most agents hate paperwork. And so I hired that first. Then I hired an admin. Then I hired a buyer's agent. And then I went to online leads back in 2007, 2008. And then from that, I'm like, wait a second, I can't handle these, but I'm great at it. I hate showing property because I suck at it. Um, Maybe I need another buyer's agent or two or three. And that just started going that route. I'm going to stick to online lead conversion because I'm so great on the phones and talking to people and connecting, but I'm terrible at showing property. I can't, I just suck at it. So let's just build it out that way. I'm going to hire more as I scale what I'm already great at. And that's what allowed me to continually scale that ladder.
That's awesome. I think maybe you've kind of addressed it. I was just going to ask if you ever had any hesitation, like because some of you who listen to this might be about to make their first hire. Like, oh, I want to do this, but I'm scared. I'm going to take on a responsibility, a payroll, or this or that. Production's inconsistent.
Oh, dude, every time. I still have that hesitation, dude. I have 52 people on staff and I still have that hesitation. It's crazy.
This is a great opportunity then, because I think what a lot of people don't realize is they think that the anxiety or the hesitation or the fear, or they think that those feelings go away once you get to a certain point. And you're kind of telling us that that's not really true. And I think this is such a great lesson. I mean, what does somebody that's listening to this need to know right now, from your words? Like, the hesitation never goes away. So what do you do?
Hesitation doesn't go away, but I learned something from Charlie Munger, who just recently died. It's Warren Buffett's business partner. He makes mental models so that he makes decisions quicker. So what I learned early on was I need to create a process or a system so that it makes it easier for me to make quicker decisions, right? So that means if I know I need something, like I can already tell you who my next two hires are because I'm paying attention. And I don't want to pull the trigger yet because I'm going through the same fear process, right? But then if I go through my process that I created, it's like, okay, if I want to hire someone, where do I need to be financially to make that decision? I've already pre-created that. And if I do make that decision, they have a 90-day trial, 60-day trial, whatever you want to do. What am I looking for that? How can I scale using this one person? Is this one person going to bring me how much more money? And how do I take care of them emotionally so that they continue to want to grow with me, right? What are the incentives for them? So then, because I have this model, I'm like, okay, I think I can hire this person based on this. And it's not always there. And it's different for different people, man, because we value so many different things.
Fantastic. Models are great. Frameworks are great. I love probably the same thing that you do, is like looking out there. It's like, who is where I want to be? And what is their system? Charlie Munger is obviously a great guy to look after for, system development or philosophy development, really, because he's built phenomenal companies with Warren. But there's just somebody out there already that's done what I want to do. Most likely. Like, that's the reality in almost every case. So go find somebody that you can look up to that is where you want to be, and just adapt the model that they've most likely perfected at this point, and start to implement it into your life. I think it's great. I think what people got to realize is this: feelings of hesitation kind of never go away. I remember my very first speaking engagement, what it felt like to walk on stage. And I remember my last speaking engagement, my first one was like 8-9 years ago. My last one was, 2 to 3 months ago, and the feelings don't actually change. It's just you kind of develop your own system for powering through those things. And I think that's such a great thing for people to recognize, is how you feel today is probably how you're going to feel a year, 5-10 years from now. You just kind of learn how to adapt through those things. You learn how to handle it 1,000%.
Handle it. Yeah, you learn how to handle it. You've been working out a lot, so it's the same thing. Your muscles start getting stronger and stronger so you can lift more weight. So we learn from experiences on how to handle situations so they become less anxious driven or create less of a stressful situation for us. But it's still there. Like, it's still a little stressful. I still get anxiety. I know how to handle it. That's all.
Yeah. Well, I want to respect your time, brother. I appreciate you so much for stopping through. I just have one more question. How do you know what's the next right move? You are a guy that has obviously had success through your own production, through building a team, through starting lab coats, through Success Magazine, through the other ventures you're involved with. And real estate agents, I think, are presented with so much opportunity. One of the most sold to industries in existence. Everybody's trying to sell something to a realtor. And there are endless opportunities through joint ventures and mortgage and title and insurance. And, there's just so much opportunity for the realtor. How do you personally know what is the next right opportunity to allocate your time, attention, energy, and resources to whenever you're continuing to grow?
I look for two things. One, I look to see what my strengths are, and say a new opportunity comes along like AI, and I say, okay, well, how can I use AI? Let's say my number one source of business for real estate, past clients, and referrals from Sphere. Then I look at AI and say, how can I use AI to strengthen what I'm already great at? Or let's say a product like what you do, right? And I take a look and I say, great, I like it. Does that fit into what I am already great at, past clients and Sphere? Should I use it in retargeting them, right? So what I do is I look at my strengths and then I say, how does that fit into my strengths? That's number one. The second piece is I'm going to know that I know that I do things wrong even when I think they're amazing. I'm like, oh, this is gonna, and then it doesn't. My ability to adapt and shift through that so I can make it work really allows me to get through it. And I don't know that a lot of people have that ability to shift or adapt quickly enough to make things work because they give up on them too fast.
Or sometimes don't give up on them fast enough. Have you ever experienced that?
Yeah, true. But here's the secret to a lot of the things that are out there. Success really happens when you stick with things much longer and you adapt through sticking with them. Because a lot of people say that didn't work. Dude, Google PPC sucks. It didn't work. Oh my gosh. How long have you tried it? 6 months, right? And then they have the wrong idea behind it. I didn't get 50% conversion. I'm like, I'm like, dude, first you're way off. It's like 1% maybe, or a little higher if you're moving, right? Next is it takes a long time. I averaged 3 years. Now let's see what happened. And how much money are you putting in this? Because if you're only putting $300 a month, and forget about it. Just don't even try it. It's not going to be for you, right? You have to go all in, thousands of dollars a month, thousands, and you have to adapt and grow with this. This isn't for everyone, man. So you want to succeed big, you got to go all in on a lot of things, or all in one thing and continually adapt. What is it? That's it.
I think that the expectations a lot of people can walk into the real estate industry with, or walk into anything like PPC is a great example. Walk into that with are totally turned upside down. I mean, the reality is like you're starting a business, and most businesses require capital to start a business, not necessarily just contacts. In real estate, you can get started with just contacts. It's just a slower game. But when you start investing your capital, you've got to understand that it just takes time and money, because this is the natural cycle in real estate. If we, Tristan, we put some ads together to sell these AirPods today, we get paid today, and then we can reinvest that money back into what it is. But real estate is not the same. There's a naturally long nurture cycle just to develop the relationship. Then there's a naturally long cycle to actually closing a transaction, 30 to 90 days, depending upon what all variables are packed. So even if you're the best door knocker in the world and you got today and you get a deal, you're not getting paid for 60, 90, 120 days. And a lot of people just don't put that into consideration. They're saying, I'm going to spend $300 in ads and do it for 3 months. It's like, you might as well have just gone and spent $300 on your family, like a really nice dinner. You would have gotten more out of that, most likely, than you would have gotten out of the leads.
Well, dude, also the amount of action it takes too. Let's let's equate the money to action. If I'm talking about money on ads, the biggest mistake I see is just a couple of $100 a month, or 300 or 400, versus $20,000 a month. It's a crazy number for some people, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 plus a month, right? Now I'm like, okay, got it. I have a really good serving sample and I'm converting. Now, if we equate that to action, because I don't have the money, 100 open houses in 100 days. What does that look like? Well, that's too much. I'm like, yeah, it is, but it also allows you to succeed like you want, right? So either your actions or the money that you're investing have to be so much that it changes and allows you to grow into what you want to. You're either going to sink or swim in this business, man, and it takes massive action and a shitload of money, to grow.
It really does. And I'm glad that you said that. I think that a lot of people need to hear it because I think the barrier to entry in the industry, I think it could be higher. And I think that the mindset you've got to take into developing a real estate business, you really want to make sure that you're all in and you're committed to playing at the highest levels possible. You're starting a business, you need capital, you need resources. And I think if you don't have those things, it's in your best interest to go, work on a team or something like that, where you can get in the game every day without having to fund a lot of that. And this is more of an opinion. I think that much of the industry should have to start on a team in some capacity, because then I think you'd see a lot less churn and you'd see people growing to understand the business better, but they would get into the action better. Right now, there's a lot of real estate agents that make more money on a team, even though they're paying higher splits and all that other stuff, than they're making, doing things on their own. I think the statistic I saw the other day was 49% of the industry sold one house in 2023.
That's crazy, dude. I didn't see that. That is nuts.
Yeah, that is. It's nuts. Like, that's wild that that's even an allowed statistic. Because again, this is a business. It's real. It's legitimate. And right now there's very real stakes at play. And so we just need to make sure that everybody's playing at the highest levels. So, man, I appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks, brother. That was fun. Great questions.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you taking the time, and I'll make sure that we link up all the different ways that people can connect with you in the show notes. Love your insights, your wisdom, your constant contribution to the industry. You're definitely a force for good, and I appreciate it a lot. So thank you.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me. It was fun.
Awesome. Thank you all for continuing to listen to the Grant Y Show. This is another fantastic interview. Let me know what your favorite part was. Leave a review, DM me on social. Let's keep the conversation going. I'll see you all on the next episode. Peace. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Grant Y Show. Please don't forget to subscribe to this channel, leave us a review, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks.